So let's leave it right there for just a quick second. Man, I was trying to find out how to stop. They just, for some reason, my prep folder, they just eliminate. If I don't, after a certain amount of days, they just eliminate what's in my prep. And I don't like that. And they don't do that in all the folders. So the 18th, Egypt, 20th, 920 number. So I want to take a hard look at the lunar eclipse for being our 86ing day. And that is all going to go back to, it's everything we had slated for August 12th, which is when Sirius, the dog star, rose, which is October 2nd, 1988. It's a 37 progression, 37-day progression. The election day that Donnie Darko was all about, 11/8/1988, the semi-baked theme of Donnie Darko. On the rising day, now October 26, 1985 is the following day after the event. This September 18th is 7/18, which is when The Dark Knight came out, which is about the dark and right eye. And The Dark Knight Rises came out 2 days later, or on the third day, on July 20th. So July 18th, then July 20th. 7/18, 7/20. Well, September was once the 7th month. So 7/18, 7/20. Dark Knight Rises, 7/20, or September 20. You know about the mathematical anomaly that anybody born on my birthday of July 6, 1961 has with anybody born October 28th, 1973, or any 42 combination in 1961 with any 28 combination in 1973, you will have a special mathematical anomaly where when you have, for instance, 1028 times 1973, the number is 55,244. 7 times 6 times 1961, the number is 82362. When you multiply them together, it begins with 45, which is Trump's number, followed by 500, which is Antichrist in Strong's Concordance, followed by another 0, then 6328. So, and the mathematical anomaly is this: rotating numbers dead center every other year, like 626, 126, for 16 years, they will rotate. And then they will move up a number, like 627, 127, 627, 127, 627, 127, for 16 years, dead center. And then in 2023, it rotated to 628, 128. And once it made that rotation, the first 3 digits of this combination begins with 920, which is all about September 20th. Again, The Dark Knight Rises came out on 7/20, and September was once the 7th month. They bumped them all up to when they added Julius Augustus, like December, decade, decameter was the 10th. October, octagon, octopus was once the 8th month. September was once the 7th month. 9/11 was really all about Revelation 11:7, the beast rising from the pit, because most countries write the date backwards than we do here in the United States. So instead of 9/11, it was really 7/11. Now flip it backwards, like most countries write it, 11/7. What rose up? One World Trade Tower. And we're definitely going to get to that, because One World Trade Tower has 285 as the address, and 285 is where Trump's days old is right now. And don't you know, on the rising day, he would be 25, 285, 88. Like 88 is Trump in simple gematria. That would be on the rising day of 9/20. He is 86th on the lunar eclipse, and the lunar eclipse plays a large role. The lunar eclipse, let me do that again. He is 285, 86 days old. Again, 285 is the address of One World Trade Tower. So let's get into the prep on this because this is absolutely fascinating to me. Hang on just a quick second. So the first thing I want to go over with you is the eclipse is either on the 17th or the 18th, depending on where you are on the earth. But when Trump was born, there was a total lunar eclipse, and it was over Egypt when he was born. So I put in Egypt's time frame, and the eclipse is 5:34 a.m. and it's September 18th, and it's on a Wednesday from the TV show Wednesday. You go to the girl with the dragon tattoo, and in Israel, they read from right to left. You have lunar eclipse, then sex with a girl with a dragon tattoo, which is the divine feminine Satan, who is actually shapeshifted to the female Lucifer, Venus. Venus and Lucifer are one and the same. And then you see the rising on 7/11. And in Skyfall, it was the Yoni, it was the divine feminine that saved him after he was shot and he went over the waterfall, which is one of the symbols for the divine feminine. But that orange fan represents the lunar eclipse. This is the movie Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and they had the 7/11 right there for Revelation 11:7 rising. So over Egypt is, so it's definitely the 18th. Now, when you look up September 18th in Gematria, it does equal January 19th. And I think that is in the simple. And there's September 18th, and then down here is January 19th. Right there, January 19th. It's on the first page. And it has 1477 searches. So you got Trump's number 47. Donnie Darko was released at Sundance on January 19th, which is 119 Donald, which means world ruler. So it's a direct hit. September 18th is a direct hit to January 19th, which is when Donnie Darko was released at Sundance. And Donnie Darko plays absolutely the biggest role in all of this. Of course it would. The way this began is I looked up the turn last night. The turn, because in the Prestige, you have the turn. You have three parts of the magic trick. And in Jewish gematria, the turn equals lunar eclipse. When I looked at it, it had 1792 searches. 79 is murder in symbol gematria. So let's look it up. The turn is the 86ing of him. The pledge is the first part of the magic trick. It's to show the Twin Towers. The second part of the magic trick is the turn. It's to bring the Twin Towers down. And then the third part of the magic trick is the prestige. It's to then bring him back, or whatever the magician made disappear, you have to bring it back. And that's the prestige. But the turn is the 86ing of him. And the turn equals lunar eclipse. There it is, 1792. Lunar eclipse in Jewish gematria, the most biblical. So the 86ing of him is connected to lunar eclipse, which we have on the 18th. And the AI made sure that it was 79 in the searches. So now we're going to get into Never Tear Us Apart, because September 18th comes to Never Tear Us Apart in gematria. And that's what was played at the beginning of Donnie Darko. And it was a different song until the director's cut. It was The Killing Moon, lunar eclipse, moon. It was The Killing Moon by Echo and the Bunnyman in the original, the theatrical release. But then years later, because it came out in 2001, of course. But then they did a director's cut about 3 years later, and they changed it to Never Tear Us Apart. And Never Tear Us Apart is what it comes to September 18th in Gematria. So let me find that for you. It might not be on. There it is. Never Tear Us Apart. Right there. 1258 searches. And there's September 18th right there. September 18th, and then Never Tear Us Apart. So now it's starting to get a little bit on the freaky side, isn't it? It's not only the turn hitting the date, and we'll do the 3 parts of a magic trick because that's coming up. We'll show you the scene. And there's The Killing Moon by Echo and the Bunny Man. That was released on January 20th, 1984. And to the 86ing day, it begins with 148, which is Donald J. Trump in simple gematria. You also have the 1, 3, 8, 6, 88 in the minutes. 138 being 86. 138 is Donald Trump in simple gematria, dropping the J. You have 12180 Christ in the amount of weeks of Echo and the Bunnyman's The Killing Moon. Now here's the turn, the prestige, where it talks about there's 3 parts of a magic trick.
Every magic trick consists of 3 parts.
So let's blow it up. Let's turn up the volume a little bit.
First part.
The volume's not very loud, is it? Hope it translates to my microphone. It does have the little cushion over it. It's really close to a speaker. I'll move it away a little bit.
The pledge.
So the pledge is the first part of the magic trick, and that's when the magician shows you something ordinary.
Deck of cards.
Deck of cards, or in this case, it's a bird. Or in the movie, they started making a man disappear because they were cloning. Tesla, played by David Bowie, was cloning in the late 1800s. And he shows it to you. So you see the Twin Towers, you see Donald Trump.
Perhaps he asks him to speak.
But then he's going to disappear. If you've never seen The Prestige, you just don't know what you're missing. It's without a doubt probably the best movie I've ever seen. And so, you know, he's about to, and there's Christian Bale. Now it's again the same actor. You hear Michael Caine's voice. He played Alfred. You see Batman, Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale in the movie, and it's also directed by Christopher Nolan. So it was placed, if I'm not mistaken, Batman Begins, then The Prestige, and then The Dark Knight, and then The Dark Knight Rises is how all 4 movies came about in order, beginning in 2005. So there's Bale,
Second act.
The second act, that's when you 86 them. That's when you bring down the twin trumps. It's called the turn, which in gematria comes to September 18th.
It's called the turn.
So there's the turn. And it even shows him turning, doesn't it? When they do this. And that's not how it's done in the movie. That's how this is cut up on the YouTube video. And then he's going to be 86, the turn. He's going to disappear. So you make him disappear. And he disappears. The whole world's watching.
You're looking for a secret.
You're looking for the secret. You're not going to clap until you bring it back.
But you won't find it.
Let's speed it up.
Because books not really looking.
You're not really looking, are you? Because you don't want to know. You want to be fooled. You don't want to know, he says very fast.
You want to be.
You want to be.
Fooled.
You want to be tricked. You want to be fooled. But you're not going to clap. You're not going to clap yet because you have to bring it back. And that's a strong delusion that the Antichrist has risen from the dead, from the right eye wound, from the deadly wound of Zechariah 11:17 and Revelation 13:3, 13:12, 13:14.
Clap yet.
Not going to clap. Not yet.
Making something disappear isn't enough.
Nope. You gotta bring it back, and that's called the prestige. 3 parts of a magic trick. The pledge, you show them. Twin trumps. The turn, oh, you bring the twin trumps down. But then what rises back up?
You have to bring it.
One World Trade Tower. What happened? You had Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. That's Mystery Babylon. The second Lord of the Rings, there's only 3, was called The Two Towers. Hello, The Two Towers. And the third was called Return of the King. You got to bring it back. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark and Right Eye, and then The Dark Knight Rises. He literally climbed out of a pit in the movie, just like Revelation 11:7.
That's why every magic trick has a third act.
A third act, and it's called the prestige.
The hardest part.
It's the hardest part, but the whole earth is supernatural when this is taking place, when the strong, and every goat is handed over to believing it.
The part we call.
There's Christian Bale. What do you know? He's cloned in the movie, or twinned, or body doubled.
The prestige.
The prestige. If you've never seen that movie, I don't know how to make you sit down and watch it. But I don't think there's ever, I know The Godfather's good and Jaws is good and Raiders of the Lost Ark is good. You know, there's so many great movies out there. People love Goodfellas. They love Casino. You know, they love mob movies. Silence of the Lambs, No Country for Old Men. Those have all been at the top of my movie list. The Dark Knight Rises, Sicario, Casino Royale, Skyfall. But when you really sit back, Charade was always my all-time favorite movie. But when you really sit back and you watch this movie, this is the one that blows my mind more than any other. I just got to tell you. Yep. You just got to watch it. You got to watch it. It's just that good. So, where were we? So the turn film, the prestige, making it disappear, which is what his event on the lunar eclipse is in Jewish gematria, In Egypt, the lunar eclipse is on the 18th. September 18th equals never tear us apart in simple gematria. And also January 19, when Donnie Darko appeared at Sundance Film Festival. That's a lot of stuff. Donald Trump is 1189 in Jewish gematria. Well, 189 is the date. Most countries write it 189. Like Canada, that's how they write. The way we in America would write it 9/18/2024 or 9/18/24 or 9/18. September 18th, I was told by a contributor, is his next high watch day. Trump will be getting sentenced in New York City. It's when he's going to be, and that's Stormy Daniels, the book of Daniel. He's going to be sentenced on this lunar eclipse. Also on that day, he said the Federal Reserve is expected to lower interest rates at their FOMC meeting. And many other interesting date durations, our contributor says. Sentencing headline, Trump's sentencing in New York delayed until September 18th. Donald Trump's sentencing in Manhattan criminal case has been delayed until September 18th so that the former president can present a new argument that his defense team, I just copied and pasted that off a search. The 86ing, like we established, he is 28, 586 days old. And that 250, that 285 right there is the address of One World Trade Tower. And Trump is 285, 86 days old. And then he'll be 285, 88 days old on the rising day. That's a pretty big deal. When you also look at his time frame from when he was born to this September 18th, we do have the 686 in there, which 68 is Antichrist. I believe it's reverse full reduction. We have the 86ing in there. We have 83, which is murder in reverse ordinal, I believe it is. And there's 83 in percent of a common year. 83 is in the weeks. 686 is in the hours. It's just loaded. His date of birth to all of that. On the rising day, Trump will be 285, 88 days old, the address of One World Trade Tower, along with the 88, which is Trump. Simple gematria, 88 miles per hour. 686 is still in the hours, along with the church, 12. 285, Fulton Street, Manhattan, New York, US, 10007. Well, what do you know? In the zip code of One World Trade Tower lies 007. Yep. Q, because that's 17 sitting right there too, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Already told y'all about the anomaly that anybody born July 6th would have. It's July 6th or any 42 combination, like February 21st, 1961, and anybody with a 28 combination, 1973. Begins with 920, followed by 921, September 21st. Do you remember the 21st night of September? Well, I think we all will if this goes down on the 18th. And the book of Revelation is opened in real time by the 20th on his rising day. And the rising is a spiritual rising, and it's nothing more than the twin clone body double that did not take the hit. Excuse me, the twin clone body double, whatever it is, takes the hit. And then the actual person, in our speculation, of course, Donald Trump, his human body will go through a ritual where Satan will possess his body, which is what the mark of the beast is. And the human host will die off. And that's what your Exorcist movies are about. And that's what your the movie Venom was about. And let's keep going. September, the song. Do you remember the 21st night of September? What else? Let's keep going. Transfer portal of time. It transfer portals back in time, if y'all have been with me since the transfer portal, to May 4th. May the 4th be with you on his 86ing day. Transfer portal of time was January 10th, 2022. It was a complete overlay of the Donnie Darko's October 1988, where the Monday, the 1st was, or the whatever the dates were on a calendar, it was the same as what it was in October. I think it was Sunday was on the 2nd, but maybe Sunday was on the 1st. Well, I'll tell you what it was. Monday was on the 10th. So that means Monday. Yeah. So the 2nd, October 2nd, just like January 2nd, 2022, October 2nd was on a Sunday. Because this transfer portal of time was when they also played the national championship game and they kept playing the Dr. Pepper transfer portal commercial. But it was on October 10th when they started talking about time travel portals. Donnie did with his high school teacher. It's a long story. But if you've been with me long enough, then you know the story, right? Let's keep going. September 18th, our contributor said the CIA was founded exactly 77 years. It was founded 16 years, 66 days prior to the assassination of that president in 1963. So 16 years, 66 days. So that's a 1666 combination, but it was exactly 77 years. By the way, this is on a Wednesday when he would go down. Wednesday and Friday are married to each other in Norse mythology. He would go down on Odin Wednesday, Adam's Family, Wednesday series. If we run that date, which I guess we might as well. If we run that date of when it came out 11/23 of 2022. And if we run it to the Wednesday, the 18th, and Friday Frigg is female. It's the only day named after a female in Norse mythology. So there it is. From Wednesday to Wednesday, if you include both dates, are you ready? Click include both dates. 666 days. Well, that's just fascinating. The first episode of the Addams Family was also on 9/18. What in the world are the chances of that? And our contributor told me that also. You've been on the Wednesday Addams thing for a long time. 9/18 is a Wednesday. The first Addams Family episode was on a Wednesday. I'm sorry. Excuse me. The first Addams Family episode ever was exactly 60 years prior to 9/18. So the first Addams Family episode came out on September 18th or 9/18. And it was in 1964. Do we want to run that? We'll take off, include both dates. It was on 9/18. To 1915. Does anybody know that number, 1915? Because I sure do. I'm not going to say what it is. Look at the weeks. 313. 3,130 weeks. We know 313 is the Zapruder film. Frame 313 was a headshot, which is a backwards Revelation 13:3, the first time deadly wound is mentioned. But it is exactly 60 years. But look at the months, exactly 7/20. His rising day is what? 7/20 or September 20th, which, you know, we write at 9/20 because of Julius Augustus. But The Dark Knight Rises came out on 7/20. And there it is, 720 months. This is fascinating, isn't it? It's mind-boggling. So a big special thank you to our contributor there on that. On 9/18/2018, in an article time coded at 9:11 a.m., CNN informed us that Trump's expected presidential alert text was being moved from October 3rd, 2018. October 3rd, 2018 to 9/18/2024 is exactly 311 weeks. 311 is all about rising because March 11th is opposite 9/11. And when you write the dates backwards, it's 11/3, which is when rising One World Trade Tower was opened. One World Trade Tower declared opening day, November 3rd, which when you're writing it is opposite March 11th. And on a calendar, it's directly across from 9/11, which again is about rising. So you see how they do what they do. So I had these videos about New York City as is going to be where the event is. And if we look at the Breakfast in America album cover, by Supertramp, you can see the twin Trumps happened at breakfast. That happened in the morning. And you see the S for Supertramp, S, got the orange juice, the OJ. You got the S and then the U. But what you're looking at there, the S and the U, you're looking at a 9/11. I'm sorry. I'm so stew. The SUP for Supertramp, look at the U and the P over the twin Trumps or the twin towers. You have an 11/9 backwards. So it's a 9/11 right on the twin Trumps. And then you got the orange juice there. So it was always going to be in New York City, wasn't it? And Bruce Wayne gets shot in New York City. Hang on. Let me check my sound. We're still good. So this is the police parade scene, is what it's called. And so he's in New York City, and I'll tell you what's going to happen. Bruce Wayne, or the billionaire from Gotham, or Donald Trump. And remember, Christian Bale posed with photos as they used Trump Tower to film The Dark Knight Rises. And Christian Bale even said in an interview that Donald Trump thinks he's Batman. So Bruce Wayne is going up to investigate a scenario. And he's going to get tricked to opening the window. So hang on a second. I'm sorry, it was there all along. So let's just turn down the sound. Sound is down. So Christian Bale is looking through this telescope that they've set up for him. They set these clues for him to find to go up to this room. And he does go up to the room. And he's looking through the telescope. And there's a certain timer where, as he's looking through the telescope, that thing flies open and the police. So is their event on September 18th, is it going to be like a police officer? Is that going to be who takes him out? Some crazy police officer or bailiff in the courthouse, because the police officers start shooting. Christian Bale has to duck because when that thing flew open, they were looking for snipers because the mayor's life was in danger. And Christian Bale's getting shot at. Well, there you go. And this is in New York City. So New York City. Pace picante sauce. I know. It's hilarious. And I had other videos two that were about New York City, why New York City would be the event. Now, this whole thing about Revelation, there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet coming. When he cometh, he must continue a short space. And not fallen were Spurrier. Remember, the Devil's Advocate, they came and got him out of Gainesville, Florida, and they said, "Go Gators" at the beginning of the movie. And so, since Spurrier are your 7 kings, your 7 antichrists, well, 5 are fallen, but 2 are not. Urban and Spurrier, not fallen. They were winners. And the kings of Mystery Babylon, through antiquity, Nebuchadnezzar and Darius the Mede, they both loved Daniel. And Babylon and then the Medes and the Persians were the first 2 kingdoms. And they were called by our Lord. Nebuchadnezzar wrote Daniel chapter 4 concerning his calling and how he was turned. So in the opening game, the Antichrist University, Florida, played the Storm, Canes. And when they change coaches, and they will, after Florida loses to Texas A&M, they will announce Spurrier, more than likely, as the interim head coach. That's it. There's your 8th. That's of the 7. It's quite amazing. He'll be fired and SOS hired by the 18th. And then their ritual that they've been performing, because we know the NFL and college football is extremely fake. Your NBA is fake. Our contributor also told me that the LeBron James, all the 38s of the LeBron, which was February 7th to our 86ing day, it's 1 year, 7 months, 11 days, but it's 19 months, 11 days. So you have a 1/9/11 and a 1/7/11. But look at the days, 589 days. Well, guess what Donald Trump is in Jewish gematria, the most biblical? 589. Fascinating. Did they really just do that? They sure did. They really, 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 really did that, didn't they? Use photo 11.7. I did. I showed that at the beginning. The gematria for the date, September 18th, spelled out in gematria. Jewish gematria comes to 664. So let's go to September 18th in the Jewish, the most biblical. That's how we get the number of a man. 666 spelled out. SIX, SIX, SIX comes to Donald John Drumpf. Drumpf was the family surname before it was changed to Trump to fulfill the other Bible prophecy of being here in his own name, and a horn is a trump, and a trump is a horn, and Donald Horn. The horn was the name of the Antichrist in the book of Daniel. But look, September 18th in Jewish gematria, 664. And now that is the height of Trump Tower. Trump Tower is 664 feet. There it is, 664. Wow. Don't forget, there it is, 721 through 725 Fifth Avenue. And the horn as the Antichrist, Daniel 721 through Daniel 725, and that which matches Trump Tower's 5 multiple addresses. And Daniel 725 says, shall make war with the saints. And Daniel 725 says, shall wear out the saints of the Most High. That's fascinating, isn't it? Sure it is. Can you make this stuff up? I can't make this stuff up. Not that smart. Dark Night rises 718, 720. Yep. So if we just go ahead and run the dates, we might as well. Of the Dark Night. So Dark Night came out on 7/18. And if we run it to our 718 or 918. It's does nothing for me, really. I see stuff. I do, but if I say it to you, it's not going to make a lot of sense. But I see what they're doing there. And now let's do the Dark Knight Rises, which came out 2 days later, 7/20. And let's run it to the rising date. And there you have your 4, 4, 4, 5. 444 is the prime number for the church because 37 is the 12th prime number, 12th number for the church. So the prime number for the church is 444. I played for Teamsters 444 in Little League and Pony League. But yeah, 444 3 days on the 86ing day, 444 5 days. If you run it to the 86ing day and include both dates, it'll be 4 days. Wow. I ran something else too. I can't remember what it was that hit on 444. We know about the Heidi Bowl on 11/17 when the right eye utterly darkened Raiders played the Jets, which are what killed Donnie Darko and brought down to Twin Trumps. And let me find what that 444 was that I found. I'm not sure. Hang on. July 2nd, 2023. That's a personal cipher. That's what it was. It was 444 days. All right. So I'm glad y'all got to absorb that with me. I think what we came across was absolutely fascinating. The Jaws film, I already had it pulled up. June 20th, 1975. We might as well run it. June 20th, 1975, because Jaws represents Beast Out of the Sea. And so if we run Jaws to the 86ing day, it's 179. 79 is murder in simple gematria, where A is 1, Z is 26. And if you run it to the rising day, it's interesting. All right. Fascinating. I'm sure, good Lord willing, we'll have more. But I always said, if the Lord ever gives me the date, and if we have the date, if I ever publish the date, they'll come for me. And so, hey, if I disappear, egad. All right, love y'all.